Welcome to Book Summary Podcast, your gateway to personal transformation. Each episode delivers big ideas from the world's most impactful books on mindset, productivity, and success, all in just a few minutes. Ready to turn knowledge into action? Let's get started.
Have you ever felt just completely swamped, like you're drowning in emails, meetings, notifications, and that to-do list that honestly seems to grow overnight?
Oh, yeah. That feeling of overwhelm.
It's everywhere, isn't it? This constant bombardment of information, and you have this nagging sense that you're trying to do way too much, but actually accomplishing, well, far too little.
Definitely a modern dilemma.
Yet somehow, in all this chaos, some people, some companies, they just seem to cut through the noise. They achieve truly extraordinary results. They don't just get by, they really thrive.
So the question is, how do they do it?
Exactly. Welcome, everyone, to a deep dive into something surprisingly simple, but really profoundly powerful. The one thing.
It's all about finding that single most important action you can take. The one thing that, when you do it, makes everything else easier or maybe even unnecessary.
Imagine that, the clarity, the impact it could have.
So today we're drawing our insights from a really fascinating source, Gary Keller's book, The One Thing, the surprisingly simple truth behind extraordinary results.
And this deep dive is basically designed to give you a shortcut, really. A way to get well-informed on a topic that could fundamentally reshape how you approach, well, everything. Work, life, any big goal you have.
Yeah, we've pulled out the key insights, the most important bits, and we'll add our own perspective to help you, really integrate these ideas.
Our mission today is pretty clear. We're going to unpack this core idea, explore its surprisingly wide-ranging applications because it pops up everywhere.
And we'll debunk some of those common myths about success that honestly hold a lot of us back from focusing.
Right, and ultimately, we want to arm you with actionable insights so you can apply the one thing in your own life, your own work. We're here to guide you through it, help you see what's really crucial in this material.
And how you can use it to get some remarkable results for yourself.
So let's dive in. Okay, let's start at the beginning with Gary Keller's own pivotal moment, because his personal story really shines a light on the power of this whole concept.
Absolutely. He was at a real crossroads with his company. His real estate business is facing some major challenges.
And he was pretty blunt about it, wasn't he? He just admitted, I hadn't a clue how to fix things. Just totally lost and overwhelmed.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how often, in those moments of desperation, real clarity comes from unexpected places. Simple places, usually.
Right. It wasn't some complex 10-point plan that saved him.
No, not at all. His mentor saw him, kind of spinning his wheels and just told him there was only one thing he really needed to do.
Which was?
Identify and bring in 14 key individuals. Just 14 people for critical roles in the company.
Now for Keller, who was probably expecting something way more complicated, that must have sounded radical, almost unbelievable.
Totally. He said he was shocked. He told his mentor he thought it would take a lot more than just finding 14 people to turn the whole thing around.
Yeah.
He was geared up for complexity.
And the mentor's response, that's where it really clicked, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was powerful. He just said, no, Jesus needed 12, but you'll need 14.
Wow. Not just a clever line, right? That was the turning point for Keller.
Absolutely transformational.
Oh.
He realized his focus, even though he thought he was focused, just wasn't narrow enough. He was spread way too thin.
Trying to fix everything at once.
Exactly. And the idea that just a few strategic hires could make such a huge difference, that was the revelation.
So he made that huge decision.
He fired himself as CEO, can you imagine? And made finding those 14 people his absolute singular focus, put everything else on the back burner.
Delegated it, ignored it, just got that one thing done. He really understood the leverage and extreme focus.
And if you look at the bigger picture, his story shows the immediate, profound impact of that extreme focus.
What happened?
His decision to narrow everything down to that one task, it just unleashed this incredible chain reaction. Within 3 years, just 3 years, his company saw sustained growth that averaged 40% year over year.
40% average. That's incredible.
It really is. That single focused action didn't just tweak things, it fundamentally changed the company's trajectory.
It really shows how nailing your one thing, that highest leverage activity, can unlock results way beyond what you'd expect.
It's about being truly productive, not just busy spinning your wheels.
So Keller then took this huge learning, obviously, and tried to apply it with his own team, help them get similar breakthroughs.
Makes sense. He started by trying to simplify things for them, right? Shortening their weekly to-do lists.
Yeah, first down to 3 things, then 2. He was nudging them towards focus.
But the real breakthrough, the aha moment, didn't happen until he went even smaller.
Right. He said it was out of desperation. He just asked them really urgently, what's the one thing you can do this week such that by doing it, everything else would be easier or unnecessary?
That specific question. And it begs the question, I mean, how much easier or unnecessary could things really become just from finding that one task?
The results apparently spoke for themselves. They were staggering.
Yeah, Keller saw that when his team actually used that question, focused like that, their results went through the roof.
He saw this clear pattern, didn't he, in his own career too?
Absolutely. He said, where I'd had huge success, I had narrowed my concentration to one thing, and where my success varied, my focus had too.
So the lesson was consistent. Going small led to big results. Spreading yourself thin, not so much.
It's a powerful lesson in just being intentional, really.
And this idea of going small, focusing on the one thing to get massive results, it leads perfectly into that domino effect analogy the book uses.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
You imagine lining up dominoes, right? Each one just a bit bigger than the last. What kind of power can that unleash?
It sounds almost too simple, but the physics behind it is really compelling.
Tell us about that.
Well, a physicist named Lauren Whitehead discovered back in '83 that a single domino can actually knock over another one that's 50% larger.
50% bigger, not just the same size.
Exactly. So it's not just about a chain reaction of many things, but knocking over successively larger things. And they proved it. In 2001, a physicist at the Exploratorium in San Francisco set up 8 plywood dominoes, starting with one just 2 inches tall. Tiny.
And the last one.
Almost 3 feet tall. And the sound apparently started with just a little tick from the first small one and ended with a loud slam when the big one went down.
A really vivid demonstration of how one small, precise action can build incredible momentum.
Exponentially.
So what does this mean for us, for our goals? The implications when you scale that up are just mind-blowing, really.
Totally. If you keep that geometric progression going, the 10th domino would be about as tall as Peyton Manning.
Okay.
The 18th would rival the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Seriously?
Yeah. The 23rd, taller than the Eiffel Tower. The 31st would loom over Mount Everest.
That's insane from a 2-inch start.
And wait for it. The 57th domino could practically bridge the distance between the Earth and the Moon.
Okay, my brain just broke a little. That's astronomical scale from one tiny push.
Right. And that analogy just powerfully illustrates this core truth. Success isn't about doing more. It's about doing the right thing first.
Finding that first domino.
Exactly. That one action that makes the next bigger thing easier, the book puts it plainly. Success is built sequentially. It's one thing at a time.
So enormous outcomes start with one small, precise action. You don't have to push all the dominoes at once.
Nope. Just find your first domino, the one that gets everything else moving.
Okay, so once this light came on for Keller, once he really got the power of the one thing, he started seeing it everywhere, right?
Yeah, it wasn't just some business trick. He saw it as a fundamental truth, like woven into the fabric of success stories all over the place.
In companies, for example.
Definitely. It's fascinating how often really successful companies are basically defined by one dominant product or service.
Oh, ick.
Well, Colonel Sanders in KFC started with that one secret chicken recipe, right? Or Adolf Coors. They grew 1,500%, focusing almost entirely on one beer from one brewery for decades.
Wow.
Intel today. Billions in revenue, mostly from microprocessors. And Starbucks. Well, everyone knows Starbucks' one thing is coffee, even with all the other stuff they sell.
Yeah, Starbucks is super clear. Coffee. But it's not always that obvious, is it? Like Google.
Right. Their one thing is search. Advertising makes the money, sure, but the search is what enables the ads. It's the foundation. Without search, no ad revenue.
Or Star Wars. That was a surprising one in the book. The toys make more money than the movies.
Yeah, the merchandise revenue dwarfs the box office takings. But you could argue the movies are still the one thing.
Why?
Because the movies create the universe, the characters, the story, everything that makes people want the toys and the lunchboxes and everything else. The films are the first domino.
That makes sense. So this raises a really important question then. How do you figure out the one thing when it's not immediately obvious?
It comes down to finding that core enabler, that foundational piece that makes everything else possible or easier.
And successful companies, they're always asking that question.
Constantly. What's our one thing? They know it's not just about getting started, but about staying dominant, about evolving. It's finding the lever that moves their world.
And this principle applies to people too, not just companies.
Absolutely. The idea that no one really succeeds totally alone, there's often that one person who makes all the difference.
Like Walt Disney and his brother Roy.
Perfect example. Walt was the creative genius, but Roy was the business mind, the banker who kept the dream alive, especially early on. He provided the backing, the stability.
Opened the door to animation when Walt couldn't get a cartooning job.
Exactly. Roy was that indispensable partner, the one person who enabled Walt's vision to become, well, Disney.
It really highlights how critical key relationships are.
Definitely. And it makes you think about your own life, right? Who was that one person for you? The mentor, the teacher, the boss, the friend who really changed things.
Yeah.
It underscores that success is rarely a solo flight. It's often built on that crucial contribution from one key individual, your own personal first domino helper.
Okay, now here's the part I found really interesting. How passion connects to this. Extraordinary success often comes from one deep passion turning into one specific skill.
Yes, through focused effort over time. The book mentions Pat Matthews, the Impressionist painter.
Yeah, he became great by just painting one painting a day, not aiming for instant perfection, just consistent action on his passion.
Exactly. Or Angelo Morico, who built Italy's top tour guide business from just his singular passion for Italy and sharing it. That drive fueled the skill and the business.
It's a pattern you see again and again.
And it creates this powerful virtuous cycle, doesn't it? Passion leads to spending disproportionate time on something,
Which naturally builds skill.
which leads to better results. Better results mean more enjoyment, more validation.
Which fuels even more passion and more time spent.
It's a self-reinforcing loop that can take you way beyond just raw talent.
The story of Gilbert Tuhoboni, the runner, was incredible in the book.
Oh, amazing. His passion for running helped him win championships, literally saved his life during a genocide.
He outran his captors. Unbelievable.
And then he comes to the U.S., becomes an All-American, a beloved coach, and then channels that passion into co-founding the Gazelle Foundation.
Bringing clean water to Burundi and their main fundraiser.
Run for the water. His one thing running became a skill, a career, and then this profound way to give back. It's incredibly inspiring.
If we had to pick just one life story that embodies the one thing from start to finish, Bill Gates might be it, right?
A pretty compelling example, yeah. High school passion, computers, programming.
Led to one specific skill. Coding.
Meets one key person, Paul Allen, who becomes his partner.
Yeah.
They send one letter to one person, Ed Roberts.
Who gives them one shot at writing code for one computer, the Altair 8800.
And they only needed that one shot.
It's amazing how singular it all sounds when you lay it out like that.
And look at the cascade effect. Microsoft starts with one thing, basic interpreters for that one computer. That focus makes Gates the richest man in the world for 15 years straight.
But it didn't stop there, did it? Even after Microsoft.
Nope. The one thing principle guided his philanthropy too. Bill and Melinda Gates form one foundation with one core belief. Every life has equal value.
Their one thing became tackling really tough problems like health and education.
Right. And within global health, their one goal was stamping out infectious disease. And how did they decide to do that? They settled on one thing, vaccines.
Because they were inexpensive and most impactful, right?
Exactly. Bill said it was the magic tool. Melinda asked, where's the place you can have the biggest impact with the money? It was that singular line of questioning, focusing on the highest leverage.
So the whole arc, from teenage passion to global philanthropy,
It's living proof of the power of the one thing, as the book says. A blueprint for how focusing on what matters most can lead to unimaginable impact.
Okay, so if the one thing is so powerful, so effective, why isn't everyone doing it? Why aren't we all living this way?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The book argues we get derailed by 6 lies about success.
Lies. That sounds strong.
Yeah, they're like these deeply ingrained beliefs that become our operational principles, but they actually drive us the wrong way. They sabotage our focus.
So we need to unpack these lies to overcome them. Let's start with the first one.
Lie number 1. Everything matters equally. This might be the most damaging one.
Because our culture kind of pushes that idea, right?
Yeah.
The endless, flat to-do list where every item seems just as important as the next.
Exactly. But the truth, backed up by Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, is completely different.
It says.
That the majority of what you want will come from the minority of what you do. A small number of actions drive most of the results.
It's not always exactly 80-20, though.
No, it could be 9-20 or 70-10 or even 6-55. The key takeaway is unequal distribution. Some things matter exponentially more than others. That's a fundamental law.
So that overwhelming to-do list, it needs to become a success list.
Precisely. Ruthlessly prioritize. It's not about checking off the most boxes. It's about checking off the right box.
Keller had that experience with his own team, right? Brainstorming improvements.
Yeah, they generated 100 ideas. Took all day. Then they narrowed it to 10, asking what's the one thing here that makes the biggest difference?
And from those 10,
just one big idea emerged. Keller should write a book about becoming an elite performer in their industry.
and that one book,
Became a national bestseller, sparked a whole series selling over 1 million copies, and totally transformed their company's image and standing. One high-leverage action.
so the counter principles here are crucial. What should we do instead?
First, go small. Focus on being productive, not just busy. Impact over activity.
Okay.
Second, go extreme. Keep asking what matters most until you get down to the absolute one thing. Put that at the top.
Which means you have to.
Learn to say no to almost everything else,
Right.
or at least not now. Eliminate distractions.
And finally,
Don't get caught in the checkoff game.
Yeah.
Simply completing lots of low-impact tasks isn't success. Find the vital few that move the needle.
okay, lie number 2. This one really hits home for me, and probably for a lot of listeners. Multitasking.
Ah, yes. The myth of multitasking. The book calls it a way of lie, not a way of life. Pretty provocative.
It really is, because it feels like we have to multitask sometimes just to keep up. What does the research actually say about our ability to do it effectively?
Well, the science is pretty clear, even if it's hard to accept. We think we're multitasking, but our brains are actually just rapidly switching contexts.
Bouncing back and forth.
Exactly. And each switch costs us time and mental energy. The book puts it bluntly. Multitasking is merely the opportunity to screw up more than one thing at a time.
Ouch. So it's not efficiency, it's just fractured attention.
Pretty much.
But what are the real costs?
Yeah.
Beyond just feeling a bit scattered, the book mentions some serious examples.
The costs can be huge, sometimes even tragic. They mention things like air traffic control errors, 2 planes cleared for the same runway because attention was divided.
Oh, wow.
Or medical mistakes, like giving the wrong medicine due to an interruption. Those are extreme, but they show the danger.
It makes you think.
Poet Billy Collins called it mucky mind. We think we're mastering multiple things, but really, we're just increasing the chance of errors and losing precision.
And the data on productivity loss is pretty stark too, right?
Yeah, it's shocking. Dr. David Meyer's research found task switching can double the time needed for complex tasks. Double!
Wow.
And estimates suggest we lose around 28% of our workday to multitasking ineffectiveness. Nearly a third of your day gone.
That's staggering. And it's not just time, is it?
No. Chronic multitaskers also make more mistakes, make poor decisions. They tend to grab new info instead of considering older, maybe better insights, plus more stress, higher cortisol. It's just bad all around.
And it can even be addictive, that dopamine hit from switching.
Yeah, reinforcing the bad habit. The bottom line is unambiguous. Focus on one thing until it's done, then move on. The illusion of speed is just that, an illusion.
Okay, on to the third lie. A disciplined life. This is the idea that success demands this almost superhuman discipline in every part of our lives. Like we have to be perfectly ordered monks.
Right, that image of perfect control, every minute scheduled. It's exhausting just thinking about it.
But the book says the truth is actually more liberating.
Much more. It says the right discipline goes a long way. It's not about being disciplined about everything. It's about applying it strategically.
Exactly. Aiming that discipline at the right habit, your one thing, actually simplifies your life. It frees you from having to police everything constantly.
The Michael Phelps example was great here.
Perfect. His discipline was singular. Swimming. Hours and hours, day after day. That intense focus on his one thing got him 18 gold medals.
The most decorated Olympian ever.
And that discipline in the pool simplified other things because it made clear what he didn't have to focus on. He wasn't a disciplined robot in all areas, just the one that mattered most for his goal.
And the encouraging part is that building that one habit, that discipline, it's hardest at the start, right?
Right. Habits are hard only in the beginning. The research suggests it takes, on average, about 66 days to the sweet spot.
66 days to form a new habit. On average, yeah. So you just need to push through that initial friction long enough for it to become more automatic.
And then it takes less energy, less conscious effort.
Exactly. It moves from a struggle to just what you do. So the key insight, Success isn't about universal discipline. It's about being disciplined enough to build the one habit that powers your one thing. Okay, lie number 4, and this one trips up so many people. Willpower is always on will call. We tend to think of willpower as this endlessly available resource we can just tap into whenever we need it.
Yeah, like it's always there if we just try hard enough.
But that's not how it works. Think about the famous marshmallow test with kids.
Right. Resisting the marshmallow for a bigger reward later showed the power of delayed gratification.
It did. But it also subtly showed that willpower is limited and depletable. The kids who succeeded often had to actively distract themselves, acknowledging they couldn't just stare it down indefinitely.
So how should we think about willpower then?
Like the battery on your phone. It starts full in the morning, but every time you use it, resisting temptation, making a hard choice, forcing focus, you drain it.
The green bar gets smaller.
Exactly. And eventually it goes red, and you're running on empty. You're on won't power.
And it needs recharging, like a battery. Sleep, rest, food.
Yep. Which means every act of will is kind of a trade-off. Using willpower now means you have less for later.
That explains why after a really tough day, it's so easy to give in to cravings or just zone out. The battery's dead.
Precisely. You won the battle earlier, but now you're vulnerable.
And even small mental efforts can drain it. The study with the numbers.
Yeah, Babashev's research, memorizing a 7-digit number versus a 2-digit one, made people almost twice as likely to choose cake over fruit.
Just that little bit extra cognitive load was enough?
Enough to deplete willpower and lead to a less wise choice.
Right.
And other studies link willpower directly to blood sugar levels.
So fuel matters. Complex carbs, protein.
They provide the sustained energy needed to keep that willpower battery charged longer. They're the fuel of choice for high achievers.
Makes sense. So the insight is, willpower is finite.
Mm.
Use it strategically on your one thing when your charge is highest. Don't waste it on trivial stuff early in the day.
Exactly. Protect that peak willpower time.
All right, let's tackle lie number 5. This one often sparks debate. A balanced life. The book flat out calls the idea of a perfectly balanced life a myth.
Yeah, pretty bold statement. Nothing ever achieves absolute balance. Nothing.
Like a spinning top, it only looks balanced while it's moving. Stop it and it falls over.
Right. Balance isn't a state you arrive at. It's an act of balancing, a constant dynamic adjustment, not a fixed destination.
So why do we chase this myth so hard then?
The desire for it leads to what the book calls middle mismanagement. We try to keep everything perfectly even, so we never make those big, disproportionate commitments needed for excellence.
We stay safe in the middle.
But magic happens at the extremes, not in the comfortable middle. The book shares those cautionary tales.
The teacher who never used her fabric, the businessman estranged from his family.
Yeah, examples of postponing crucial life priorities forever, in search of some perfect equilibrium that never comes. Trying too hard for balance can lead to major regrets.
So if perfect balance is a myth, what's the alternative? The book talks about counterbalancing, right?
Exactly. And it suggests different approaches for work and life.
Okay, how does that work?
In your professional life, to get extraordinary results, you need to go long. Give disproportionate time to your one thing, except that other work stuff will get out of balance temporarily.
You lean in hard on the priority and let other things slide a bit.
For a time, yes. With infrequent counterbalancing to catch up, professional success requires that intense focus sometimes.
But in your personal life,
You have to go short. You can't neglect your health, family, friends, spirit for long periods. The stakes are too high.
constant awareness, quick adjustments needed there.
Right. Tight counterbalancing, move back and forth quickly. James Patterson's 5 balls analogy is perfect.
Remind us.
Work is a rubber ball. Drop it, it bounces back. But family, health, friends, integrity, they're glass balls.
Mhm.
Drop them, and they shatter or get damaged permanently.
So you can let work get unbalanced for a while, but you have to keep juggling those glass balls carefully.
Precisely. Strategically allow work in balance, but vigilantly counterbalance your personal life.
So it's not about avoiding imbalance. You actually need it for big work goals. It's about how long you stay unbalanced and when you shift to counterbalance.
It's a weird tightrope,
Yeah.
a dynamic dance. The goal is a static balance, but smart counterbalancing for extreme results where it counts, without wrecking the rest of your life.
Got it. Okay, the 6th and final lie. Big is bad. The book calls this maybe the worst lie of all. Why?
Because if you actually fear big success, you'll subconsciously avoid it or sabotage yourself when you get close.
We associate big with hard, complicated, overwhelming, maybe losing other important things.
Exactly. We're often taught to be content, not to reach too high, that big ambitions are somehow greedy or risky,
But the book argues.
that no one knows their ultimate ceiling for achievement. Why would you deliberately set a low bar for yourself? Thinking big is essential to extraordinary results.
The Hotmail founder, Sabir Bhatia, arrived with $250 but had gargantuan big plans.
And sold Hotmail for $400 million. His success was directly tied to his ability to think big from the start. He wasn't aiming for a small lifestyle business.
It highlights that our thinking shapes our actions, which determine our results.
Absolutely. What you build today, your mindset, your plans, either empowers you for bigger things tomorrow or traps you where you are.
Like Arthur Guinness signing a 9,000-year lease. That's thinking big.
Or J.K. Rowling envisioning all 7 Harry Potter books before writing page 1. Or Sam Walton setting up his massive estate plan way before Walmart was a giant. Foresight matching ambition.
And it's not just business, right? The examples of MADD, the Global Soap Project.
All started by individuals with a big vision to solve a big problem. Candace Lightner didn't just want justice for her daughter. She wanted to change national laws and save hundreds of thousands of lives. Ryan Trailjack didn't just want to donate pocket money. He wanted to bring clean water to Africa on a huge scale.
Thinking big leads to massive impact.
And here's a cool side effect. On the journey to achieving big, you get bigger. The challenge forces you to grow.
Like Scott Forstall recruiting for the original iPhone team.
Yeah, he sought growth-minded people, warned them it would be incredibly hard, but promised they'd create something they'd remember the rest of their lives. The big goal itself transforms the people pursuing it.
So how do we counter this big is bad lie?
3 things. First, think big. Don't just aim for incremental improvement. Double down on your goals. Ask bigger questions.
Second,
Act bold. Once you have a big goal, study those who've done similar things. Find the models, the systems, the habits. Success leaves clues. Don't fear failure. Embrace a growth mindset. See failure not as the end, but as feedback. Part of the process of achieving something big, the ultimate insight. Your only real limits are self-imposed. Think bigger, and your life expands.
Okay, so we've dismantled those 6 lies. Now let's pivot to the truth, the core elements needed for extraordinary results. The book lays out this natural rhythm: purpose, priority, and productivity.
Right, and they're deeply interconnected. They feed into each other, guiding both the big picture and the daily actions. They're the foundation.
Let's start with purpose. Live with purpose.
Yeah, it's about creation, not just discovery. George Bernard Shaw said, life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. It's active.
The Scrooge example from A Christmas Carol illustrates this perfectly.
Totally. His initial purpose, money, accumulation, which led to priorities and actions focused only on wealth, resulting in a miserable life.
But when the ghost changed, his purpose shifted it to connection, contribution.
Everything else changed. His priorities, his actions, his entire life, his happiness. His why shifted, and the what and how followed.
So that critical question arises. How do we find our purpose, our big why? It can feel elusive.
It can. The book uses that old story of the begging bowl to show why just chasing external things, more money, more stuff, doesn't lead to lasting fulfillment.
Because human desire can be bottomless. The bowl never gets full.
Exactly. We acquire something, get used to it, get bored, and want the next thing. It's a losing proposition, an endless chase.
So where does lasting happiness come from then?
The book argues happiness happens on the way to fulfillment. It comes when you make your life about something bigger than yourself, when you bring meaning and purpose to your everyday actions.
That's your big why, the driving force.
Right. When you connect your daily grind to that larger purpose, that's when extraordinary results become meaningful and sustainable. It gives everything context and power. Your purpose is your compass, ensuring your efforts aren't wasted.
Okay, so if purpose is the destination, priority is the map, right? It tells you what to do to get there.
Precisely. Like Alice and the Cheshire Cat. If you don't know where you're going, purpose, then any road priority will do. Or none at all. You just wander.
Purpose gives direction, priority gives the steps.
And it's interesting, the word priority itself used to be singular.
Really? Meaning just the first thing.
Yeah, until the 20th century. Priorities, the plural, kind of diluted the meaning, suggesting you can have multiple most important things at once. We need to reclaim that singular focus.
If everything's a priority, nothing is.
Exactly.
And we also fight against that present bias, don't we? Choosing smaller rewards now over bigger ones later.
Oh yeah, hyperbolic discounting. We're wired for immediate gratification. $100 today feels better than $200 next year, even though it's illogical.
Which makes it hard to stick to actions today for a goal that feels really far off.
Right. The future benefit feels abstract, less motivating.
So how do we bridge that gap? Connect the big someday goal to the right now action. The book has that question chain.
The goal setting to the now. It's brilliant, you ask. Based on my someday goal, what's the one thing I can do in the next 5 years?
Such that by doing it, everything else would be easier or unnecessary.
Right. Then, based on that 5-year goal, what's the one thing this year, then this month, this week, today?
And finally, right now.
Exactly. It cascades down, connecting the ultimate vision to the immediate next step.
It literally lines up your dominoes, makes the huge goal feel concrete and actionable.
It's the difference between dreaming and breaking it down into that single most important next step and then taking it.
And research supports this focus on process, right? Visualizing the steps is better than just the outcome.
Definitely. Visualizing the study sessions is more effective than just picturing the A and writing goals down. Huge impact.
Makes you almost 40% more likely to achieve them.
According to Dr. Gail Matthews' research, yeah. And sharing progress with an accountability partner. That bumps it up to over 76% more likely.
Wow. Make it concrete, make it social. So the insight is, great things are built step by step, each prioritized step linked to your bigger purpose.
Nailed it.
Which brings us to the third element, live for productivity. It's not just about having purpose and priorities, but actually getting things done.
Right. The book states, the most successful people are the most productive people. Not just busy, but productive, generating real results from focused effort.
And a key practice for this.
Time blocking. This is non-negotiable according to the book.
Making an actual appointment with yourself for your one thing, putting it on the calendar.
Exactly. And treating it like the most important meeting of your day. Because it is. You wouldn't skip a meeting with your biggest client, right? Don't skip this. Protect it fiercely.
How much time are we talking? The book's recommendation is ambitious.
Minimum 4 hours a day.
4 hours daily. That sounds like a lot.
It does. But think of Stephen King. Prolific writer. He blocks his mornings, often 4 hours, just for writing.
And the book asks that killer question, does he get to do this because he is Stephen King, or is he Stephen King because he does this?
Exactly. That consistent, prioritized time block, day after day, even when it's hard, is what builds extraordinary careers. It's the habit that creates the success.
This ties into Paul Graham's maker versus manager schedule idea, too.
Yeah, maker time needs big, uninterrupted blocks for deep work coding, writing, strategizing. Manager time is often chopped up into meetings.
And managers can unintentionally disrupt maker time.
Happens all the time. Successful people and companies learn to protect that maker time, recognizing it's essential for creating anything significant. Respect the rhythm of deep work.
And for a practical way to stick with it daily, there's Jerry Seinfeld's method.
Don't break the chain. Love that one. Get a big calendar, mark a big red X every day you do your one thing.
And the goal is just don't break the chain.
Right. Seeing that chain grow creates its own momentum, makes the huge goal feel like lots of small, achievable daily wins.
So summing up productivity, connect purpose, priority, productivity. Time block your one thing early, big chunks, and protect that block like crazy.
Your mantra? Nothing and no one has permission to distract me from my one thing. Build a fortress around it. Because consistent, concentrated effort is the engine. Treat that time like gold.
Okay, so living the one thing requires commitment and also vigilance against those thieves of productivity the book mentions. Let's hit the commitments first. What do we need to commit to?
3 core commitments. First, follow the path of mastery.
Mastery. Sounds daunting, like reaching some final peak.
Not really. The book frames it as a never-ending journey. It's about giving the best you have to become the best you can be at your most important work, continuously improving.
Like the difference between a white belt and a black belt in karate. Same basic moves, vastly different execution due to practice.
Exactly. Mastery comes from consistent time on task. Blocking the hours, day after day, patiently getting better at that one crucial thing.
Michelangelo's quote comes to mind, if people knew how hard I worked.
It would seem wonderful at all.
Right.
Consistent effort beats raw talent. And pursuing mastery builds confidence, competence, and actually makes other things easier eventually.
Even the founder of judo asked to be buried in his white belt. Symbolizing the learning never ends.
A lifelong commitment to growth in your one thing.
Okay, commitment number 2.
Move from E, entrepreneurial, to key, purposeful.
E to P. What does that mean?
We naturally start things entrepreneurially, E using our gut, enthusiasm, raw effort, just jumping in.
But that approach has a limit, a ceiling.
Yeah, it hits a ceiling of achievement. Our natural talent and grit only take us so far. A purposeful P approach means actively seeking out better models, systems, coaching smarter ways to break through that ceiling.
So it's shifting from trying hard to trying smart.
Precisely. Are you just hacking away with an axe, or are you asking, where can I get a chainsaw?
Being purposeful might feel unnatural at first. Learning a new system, getting feedback.
Often, yeah. It's being willing to do whatever it takes for breakthroughs, not just settling for good enough on the okay plateau. Continually challenging yourself to find better ways.
Got it. And the third commitment.
Live the accountability cycle. This is about owning the link between your actions and your results.
Not making excuses.
Right. Accountable people use outcomes, good or bad, as feedback to improve their future actions.
Yeah.
The manager who digs into why the market shifted is accountable. The one who blames the economy isn't.
Seeing results as data for improvement. How do we build this accountability muscle?
One of the fastest ways is an accountability partner. A mentor, a peer, a coach.
Not just a cheerleader, though.
No. Someone who gives frank, objective feedback, sets expectations, offers real insights. That external perspective is invaluable.
And the research backs this up strongly. Sharing progress reports.
Dramatically. Gail Matthews found sending progress reports boosted achievement likelihood to over 76%. And Erickson's work on experts shows they all seek out teachers and coaches.
A coach helps with mastery, moving from E to P, and staying accountable.
They're a powerful ally on this path. So true accountability is actively learning from results, ideally amplified by someone holding you to your highest standard.
Okay, so we have the commitments. But even then, there are these thieves lurking, trying to steal our focus and productivity.
Yeah, and they're sneaky. The book uses that Good Samaritan experiment to show how easily we get derailed.
Seminary students, about to talk about helping others, walked right past someone in need just because they were told they were running late.
If they can lose focus that easily, anyone can. It shows how powerful these thieves are.
So, thief number 1.
The inability to say no. Sounds simple, but it's so hard for many of us.
Focus is deciding what not to do, right?
Exactly. Steve Jobs slashing Apple's product line from 350 down to 10 is the classic example. Radical focus meant saying no to 340 things.
So saying a big yes to your one thing means you have to get good at saying no to almost everything else.
At least for now. It's liberating, really. It creates the space, the time, the mental energy you need. It protects your focus. Saying yes to your priority demands saying no elsewhere. Master polite refusal.
Okay, thief number 2. Fear of chaos.
This one's interesting. The book acknowledges that when you laser focus on your one thing, messes are inevitable elsewhere.
While you're deep in work, emails pile up, other projects wait, your desk gets messy.
Right. The world keeps turning outside your focus bubble, and the unwillingness to allow for chaos pulls you away. You feel pressure to tidy up the periphery instead of driving forward on the core task.
It feels like if you don't deal with the small stuff, it'll explode.
That's the fear. But you have to make peace with temporary disorder, the loose ends lying around. To get big things done, it's a necessary trade-off. Focused imbalance yields results. Embrace temporary chaos in non-critical areas as a sign of deep work.
What's the third thief?
It's woven throughout, but essentially poor health habits or personal energy mismanagement, sacrificing sleep, nutrition, exercise.
Borrowing against your future.
Yeah, it leads to burnout, kills willpower, makes sustained focus impossible. You can't achieve extraordinary things running on fumes. Prioritizing health is crucial for energy.
And the fourth thief, your environment.
Environment, not supportive of your goals, both people and place.
Who you hang out with matters.
Hugely. In time, you begin to think, act, and even look a little like those you hang out with. High achievers lift you up. Negative people drain you. Oprah's advice: surround yourself only with people who are going to lift you higher.
And the physical environment, too, distractions.
Absolutely. A noisy office, constant phone buzzes, clutter. It pulls you away, like trying to diet in a candy store. Your environment shapes your focus.
Do we need to actively take ownership, curate our social circle, design our workspace?
Manage the people, manage the place. Ensure they support your goals. Provide optimism and focus, not drain and distract. Design your environment, social and physical, to be your ally, not your enemy.
So this whole journey, living the one thing, it's step by step, right? But you have to keep stepping.
And that first step is always identifying and committing to your one thing.
The book has that powerful challenge at the end. Close your eyes, imagine your life as big as possible.
As big as you've ever dared. And then it says, whatever you can see, you have the capacity to move toward.
Expanding the limits of your thinking expands the limits of your life.
Yeah, and that exercise. Double your income, then double it again until your current actions won't get you there. Then align your actions to that bigger number. Applies to everything: health, relationships, impact.
It forces you to think bigger and then act accordingly, moving past fear.
Embracing faith in your potential. Like that Cherokee tale of the two wolves inside us. Fear versus faith. Which one wins?
The one you feed. You have to choose to feed faith in action.
And maybe the most sobering wisdom comes from looking at regrets, especially end-of-life regrets.
What's the most common one?
Overwhelmingly, it's about inaction. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. People regret the chances not taken, the dreams not pursued.
Far more than mistakes made along the way.
Far more.
So the message for you listening right now is pretty urgent then.
Yeah. Make sure every day you do what matters most. Find your one thing.
Because when you know what matters most, everything else clicks into place.
Everything makes sense.
Oh.
But if you don't know, anything makes sense and you risk scattering your energy, achieving little of real importance. Clarity is key.
The final story in the book really brings this home. The father and the puzzle.
Oh yeah, the world puzzle. The son puts it together quickly because he saw the picture of the man on the back of the pieces.
And he says,
when I put the man together, the world just fell into place.
Such a simple, profound metaphor for the one thing. Get yourself right, your purpose, priority, productivity. Put that inner man together.
And your outer world, your life, your results will naturally fall into place around that core alignment.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the final question for you to ponder is, what is the one crucial man, that core singular focus that you need to put together in your life or work right now?
What's that one thing, that first domino, that if you focus on it will make everything else fall into place, leading you towards extraordinary results and a life with no regrets?
That's the starting point for your own journey.
Thanks for tuning in to the Book Summary Podcast. If you found value in today's episode, hit that like button, subscribe for more summaries, and share it with someone who's ready to grow. Want deeper insights, exclusive book notes, and reading tips? Join our free newsletter. The link's in the description. And don't forget, if you'd like to read the full book, our affiliate link is right below. It helps support the channel and keeps the summaries coming. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing.